There is a silence that sits at the very center of the universe. It is not an empty silence, but a pregnant one, waiting for the inevitable collapse of stars, the crumbling of mountains, and the final breath of living things. We spend our entire lives running from this silence. We build fortresses of stone, of money, of relationships, and of identity, desperately trying to freeze time in its tracks. But the universe has a law in ironclad, unbreakable law that governs every atom in your body and every star in the sky. This is the law of impermanence, or, as it is known in the ancient Pali language of the awakened ones, Anicca. To understand Anicca is not merely to learn a definition. It is to come face to face with the terrifying and beautiful engine of reality itself. It is one of the core truths of the Buddha's teachings, the bedrock upon which the entire philosophy of liberation stands. But what does it truly mean? It refers to the undeniable, visceral reality that absolutely nothing in this world is permanent. Nothing. Not the ground beneath your feet, not the sun that warms your skin, and certainly not the thoughts racing through your mind right now. Everything we see, everything we feel, everything we experience is caught in a violent, beautiful, constant state of flux. Consider the blooming flower. In the morning, it is a tight fist of potential, a bud closed against the cold. By noon, it explodes into color, a masterpiece of biology shouting its existence to the sun. By evening, the edges curl, the color fades, and it begins the slow descent into the earth from which it came. It is the same with a friendship that once felt like it would last 1,000 lifetimes, only to drift apart like clouds in a windy sky. It is the same with our own bodies, these vessels we polish and protect, which are slowly, inevitably, returning to dust. Nothing stays the same forever. In the simplest, most poetic terms, impermanence means that life is a roaring river. It is never still. It is always rushing forward, crashing over rocks, carving new paths, carrying debris and treasures alike downstream. You cannot step into the same river twice, for the water has flowed on, and you have changed. Things come into existence with a burst of energy. They stay for a brief, fragile moment, suspended in the illusion of stability. And then, without fail, they fade away. They dissolve back into the void. This cycle is not just limited to the physical world of matter and atoms. It applies with equal force to the invisible world of your inner life, your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships. Think about it deeply. Have you ever had a moment of pure, unadulterated happiness that lasted forever? A moment where time stopped and the joy crystallized into eternity? No, faded, it shifted into memory. Conversely, have you ever felt a sadness so deep it felt like a physical weight, a darkness that you thought would never lift? Yet, look at you now. You are still here. The darkness shifted. The clouds broke. Probably not a single emotion you have ever felt has stayed static. These moments may feel intense. While they last, they may feel like the only reality, but eventually they change. This is the nature of impermanence. It touches every aspect of life, from the smallest, fleeting thought to the grandest, most catastrophic events in history. Buddhism teaches that all phenomena, every single thing that can be named or experienced, go through 4 distinct, unavoidable stages. This is the heartbeat of existence. First, there is birth, the spark. Things come into being. Out of the nothingness, a form emerges. A child is born, a star ignites, an idea is formed. Second, there is existence. They remain for a while. This is the duration, the span of life, where the object or being interacts with the world. It seems solid, it seems real. Third, there is decay. The entropy sets in. They begin to weaken or fade. The edges fray. The energy dissipates. The structure compromises. Fourth and finally, there is cessation. They come to an end. The flame goes out. The breath stops. The object is no more. This cycle can be seen everywhere you look if you have the courage to open your eyes. A beautiful sunset, painting the sky in violets and golds, inevitably fades into the crushing darkness of night. A new gadget, shiny and celebrated today, eventually becomes a piece of plastic junk in a landfill, outdated and forgotten. Even the strongest mountains, which seem to stand as eternal sentinels over the earth, are being eroded, grain by grain, by the wind and the rain over owns. Nothing in this world is exempt from change, no matter how solid, no matter how permanent it might appear, it is dissolving. Impermanence also applies to the chaotic landscape of our minds. Our thoughts and feelings are constantly shifting, like sand dunes in a desert storm. One moment we might feel joyful, on top of the world, invincible. The next, a shadow passes, and we feel worried, frustrated, or small. This shows that even our inner world, the place we call me, is not fixed. It is a weather pattern, not a statue. The Buddha emphasized impermanence from the very beginning of his teachings. He did not hide this truth. He placed it at the front gates of enlightenment. In his first sermon, known as the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the setting in motion of the wheel of Dharma, he introduced the idea of change, not just as a philosophy, but as the foundation for understanding suffering, or Dukkha, and the path to ultimate liberation, Nibbana. Why is impermanence so important? Why must we stare into this abyss? Because understanding it is the only way to make sense of life's relentless challenges. It shows us that clinging to things, whether they are people we love, possessions we cherish, or even ideas about who we are, can lead only to pain and disappointment. When you hold on to a rope that is being pulled by a runaway train, your hands will burn. That is what clinging to the impermanent feels like. But if we accept that everything changes, if we open our hands and let the rope slide, we can find freedom. We can find peace in the midst of the storm. Buddhism teaches that life is marked by three universal truths, known as the Tilakkhana. These truths are not merely religious dogmas. They are descriptions of the physics of reality. They help us understand the nature of reality and guide us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Impermanence, Anicca. Suffering, Dukkha. Non-self, Anatta. These three marks are woven together. You cannot pull one thread without moving the others. Let's explore each one in the visceral detail they deserve, starting with the first. Impermanence, Anicca. As we have discussed, impermanence means that nothing is fixed. Everything is vibrating, moving, transforming. This is easy to see in the physical world. Seasons bleed into one another. People age, their skin wrinkling like dried fruit. Buildings that once scraped the sky eventually crumble into rubble. But it is also true for non-physical things. Relationships grow hot and cold. Emotions rise like tides and fall like receding waves. Even our beliefs and opinions, which we fight wars over, shift over time. Recognizing impermanence helps us let go of unrealistic expectations. It shatters the delusion that things should stay the same. For example, if we expect a moment of happiness to last forever, we are setting ourselves up for a devastating crash. We are demanding that the sun never set. But if we understand that all moments are fleeting. We can appreciate them with a desperate, beautiful intensity while they last, and then move on when they pass, without bitterness. Suffering, dukkha. The second mark of existence is dukkha. It is often translated as suffering, but that word is too small. It means dissatisfaction. It means unease. It means the wheel is slightly off-center, bumping along the road. One of the main causes of this suffering is our resistance to change. Think about it. We are addicted to comfort. We cling to things we like with a death grip, and we push away things we don't like with all our might. When the things we love change or disappear, we feel a tearing pain in our souls. And when we are stuck in situations we dislike, we feel frustrated, trapped. This constant struggle, this tug of war against the flow of impermanences, is what creates suffering. Imagine you have a favorite pair of shoes. You love them. They define your style. But over time, the leather cracks, the soles wear thin. They become unusable. If you cling to the idea that those shoes should always stay perfect, you will feel upset, even angry, when they fall apart. You will mourn a piece of leather. But if you accept that everything has a lifespan, including your shoes, including your body, including the sun itself, you can let go of the frustration. You can say goodbye and move on. Non-self, anatta. The third mark of existence is anatta, or non-self. This is the most radical, mind-bending teaching of all. It is closely related to impermanence. It says that there is no unchanging, independent self or soul within us. Why? Because everything that makes us who we are, our thoughts, our feelings, our memories, and even our biological cells, is constantly changing. There is no single, permanent me sitting behind your eyes, pulling the levers. The you of 5 years ago is dead. The you of 5 minutes ago is gone. Instead, we are like a flame, a continuous process of burning. A flame looks like a solid object, but it is actually a stream of heat and light, never the same for a microsecond. We are a process, not a thing. We depend on many factors to exist. Understanding anatta can be terrifying, but ultimately, it is liberating. It helps us see that we don't need to cling to a fixed idea of who we are. We don't have to defend a fortress that doesn't exist. We can grow, adapt, and let go of the identities and habits that no longer serve us. We are fluid. Impermanence is not random. It is not chaos. It is a dance. It happens because of certain causes and conditions. Buddhism explains this machinery through two key ideas. One, a dependent origination, or paticca samuppada. Two, the law of nature. Dependent origination is the principle that everything arises and passes away due to interconnected causes and conditions. Nothing stands alone. Nothing is an island. In other words, nothing exists on its own power. Everything depends on something else to come into being. Let's take a simple example of flower. For a flower to bloom, it is not a solo act. It needs the heat of the sun, which is a nuclear explosion millions of miles away. It needs water, which cycled through clouds and oceans. It needs soil, which is the decayed remains of ancient life. It needs time. If any of these conditions are missing, the flower cannot exist. And even when the flower blooms, it doesn't last forever. Why? Because the conditions change. The water runs out. The winter comes. The sun sets. As the conditions shift, the flower begins to wither and eventually dies. This principle applies to all things, including our own lives. Our health depends on food, exercise, and rest. Our happiness depends on relationships, goals, and circumstances. When these conditions change, and they always change, so do the outcomes. We are woven into a web of causality. The law of nature implies that impermanence is a universal truth. It doesn't just affect humans, it is cosmic law. It applies to everything in existence, from the smallest vibrating atom to the largest spiraling galaxy. Stars are born in nebulae, shine brightly for billions of years, and eventually burn out or explode into supernovas. Mountains rise through the violent tectonic forces of the earth and are eroded into sand by the gentle persistence of wind and rain. Even emotions and thoughts are governed by this law. A moment of anger might feel overwhelming, like a forest fire in your mind, but it doesn't last forever. It burns out its fuel. Similarly, a joyful moment is precious precisely because it is rare and temporary. It too will pass. By observing the world around us, we can see that impermanence is not a flaw in the design. It is not a mistake. It is simply the way things are. Understanding impermanence doesn't stop at recognizing it in the external world. That is just intellectual entertainment. It is essential to reflect on how it influences our thoughts, our actions, and our overall sense of well-being. When we delve deeper into the nature of impermanence, we uncover profound insights that can lead to freedom from suffering and a greater appreciation for life. Why does clinging lead to suffering? This is the central diagnosis of the human condition. One of the main reasons we experience dissatisfaction in life is because we cling to things as though they are permanent. We live in denial. We hold on to people, possessions, and moments, hoping against hope that they will never change. But inevitably, they do. This creates a gap, a painful chasm between our expectations and reality. This gap is filled with frustration, grief, and longing. Imagine standing on a beach, trying to hold onto a handful of dry sand. The tighter you squeeze your fist, the faster the grains slip through your fingers. This is what clinging feels like. It is a self-defeating struggle. We try so hard to hold on to what we love that we end up causing ourselves more pain when it inevitably slips away. The Buddha taught that attachment to transient things is a major cause of suffering. When we desire something, we often believe the lie that possessing it will make us happy forever. If I just get this car, this partner, this job, I will be complete. But because everything is impermanent, even the joy we feel when we get what we want will fade. The car scratches. The partner changes. The job becomes routine. But there is freedom through letting go. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It doesn't mean we become cold, unfeeling robots. Instead, it means we stop trying to control or resist the flow of change. We stop arguing with reality. By accepting impermanence, we can appreciate life more fully and reduce the anxiety that comes with trying to hold on to what cannot last. For instance, when we understand that our loved ones want to be with us forever, that every goodbye could be the last, we may feel a greater sense of gratitude for the time we have with them. The hug becomes tighter. The conversation becomes deeper. Similarly, when we face challenges, recognizing that they too will pass can give us hope and resilience. This too shall pass becomes a mantra of survival. Letting go doesn't just apply to external things, it also applies to our inner world. Thoughts, emotions, and desires come and go like waves in the ocean. They are weather events. By observing them without clinging to them or pushing them away, we can find peace even in the midst of life's ups and downs. We become the sky, watching the clouds pass, untouched by the storm. The teachings on impermanence are not abstract concepts meant for intellectual debate in a classroom. They are practical, tactical tools for navigating the battlefield of daily life. When we observe impermanence in our everyday experiences, we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Let's look at daily reflections. One of the easiest ways to see impermanence is by paying attention to the changes in your own body. Look at your hands. Look at your face in the mirror. From the moment we are born, our bodies are in a constant state of transformation. We grow, we age, we wrinkle, and eventually, we pass away. Take a moment right now to reflect on something simple, like your breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Each breath you take arises, fills your lungs, and passes away, one after another. You cannot hold a breath forever. You must let it go to take the next one. This basic yet profound observation can remind us of the fleeting nature of life. Emotions are another area where impermanence is easy to observe. Think about the last time you felt angry or upset. Really remember it. Did that feeling last forever? Probably not. It may have felt overwhelming in the moment, like the end of the world, but eventually it faded. It was replaced by hunger, or sleepiness, or a joke. The same is true for joy, excitement, and every other emotion we experience. They are guests that come and go. They are not the host. Notice the fleeting nature of relationships. Our relationships are also subject to the laws of entropy and change. Friends may come into our lives for a season and then drift away. Family dynamics shift as children grow and parents age. Even the people we feel closest to are constantly growing and evolving. The person you married 10 years ago is not the same person sleeping beside you tonight. Recognizing impermanence in relationships doesn't mean we become detached or indifferent. On the contrary, it encourages us to cherish the time we have with others. It makes every moment poignant. It drives us to approach our interactions with kindness and compassion, knowing that the window of connection is closing. This applies to challenges as well. Impermanence can be a source of profound comfort during difficult times. When we face pain, loss, or disappointment, it is easy to feel like the suffering will never end, that we are trapped in a dark tunnel with no exit. But if we remember that all things are temporary, we can find hope. The tunnel has an end. For example, if you're going through a tough period at work or in a relationship, remind yourself this situation will not last forever. It physically cannot. By keeping this perspective, you can face challenges with greater patience and resilience. You can outwait the storm. Meditation is the laboratory where we test these truths. It is one of the most effective ways to deepen your understanding of impermanence, moving it from a concept in your head to a knowing in your bones. Through regular practice, you can train your mind to observe the changing nature of thoughts, sensations, and experiences in real time. This awareness helps you develop a sense of inner peace and clarity that is unshakable. Consider mindfulness of breathing, or Anatta. This is a simple but powerful meditation practice. You sit quietly. You close your eyes. You focus on your breath. You notice how each inhalation arises from nothing, reaches a peak of fullness, and then fades into exhalation, dissolving back into nothing. This practice may seem basic, but it teaches an important lesson. Even something as constant, as vital, as intimate as breathing is subject to change. It is a cycle of birth and death, happening every few seconds. By observing this, you can cultivate a deeper awareness of impermanence in all aspects of life. Then there is insight meditation, or Vipassana. This takes mindfulness a step further. Instead of focusing solely on the breath, you expand your awareness to observe everything that arises in your experience. You become a scientist of your own consciousness. You watch thoughts arise. You watch sensations itch and pulse. You watch emotions swell and break. You watch external sounds drift in and out. As you practice, you will notice that absolutely everything you observe is impermanent. A sharp pain in your leg might come, throb, and then vanish. A thought about dinner might arise, distract you, and then disappear. Even the sense of I, the feeler of the pain, the thinker of the thought, begins to feel more fluid, less solid. Vipassana helps you see that nothing is fixed, and this insight can lead to profound inner transformation. You stop identifying with the debris floating in the river, and you become the awareness of the river itself. There is also the contemplation of death, or Maranasati. Reflecting on the inevitability of death is another powerful, ancient practice. To the modern mind, this might sound morbid or depressing, but it is actually a way to cultivate greater awareness and gratitude. It wakes you up. When you remember that life is finite, that your time is a limited resource ticking away, you are more likely to focus on what truly matters. You may find yourself spending less time on trivial concerns, on petty arguments, on scrolling through screens. You may find yourself spending more time nurturing meaningful relationships and pursuing your deepest goals. For example, you might set aside a few minutes each day to reflect on the fact that every living being, including yourself, will one day pass away. This isn't meant to create fear. It is meant to inspire you to live with purpose. It is meant to make you live vividly. The Buddha taught that understanding impermanence is not just a philosophical idea, it is a path to liberation. It is the escape hatch. When we fully grasp the truth of impermanence, it transforms the way we experience life and helps us let go of the attachments and aversions that cause suffering. It leads to reducing craving and aversion. Much of our suffering comes from two twin demons, craving things we don't have or rejecting things we don't want. Craving might take the form of longing for wealth, success, or eternal happiness, a hunger that can never be filled. Aversion might show up as fear of loss, failure, or discomfort, a running away from reality. Impermanence teaches us that clinging to anything, whether it's a person, a possession, or an experience, is futile because nothing lasts forever. You are hugging a ghost. This doesn't mean we should stop caring or striving for good things in life. Instead, it means we approach life with a lighter touch. We hold things gently. We appreciate what we have without becoming overly attached to it. For example, imagine you reholding a beautiful flower. You know that it will eventually wilt. You know its time is short. But that doesn't stop you from enjoying its fragrance and beauty while it lasts. In fact, the knowledge of its death makes its life more beautiful. Similarly, understanding impermanence allows us to savor life's joys without becoming trapped by the fear of losing them. This is the path to enlightenment. The ultimate goal of Buddhist practice is to attain nibbana, or nirvana, a state of freedom from suffering. Understanding impermanence is a key step on this path because it helps us see through the illusion of permanence that keeps us clinging to the transient world. When we truly understand that everything, including our sense of self, is impermanent, We begin to let go of the attachments and identities that bind us. We untie the knots. This creates space for a profound inner peace that is not dependent on external conditions. It is a peace that survives the storm. The Buddha compared this process to crossing a river. On one side of the river is suffering, the world of samsara, the cycle of grasping. On the other side is liberation. By understanding impermanence, we can let go of the raft of clinging and step onto the shore of freedom. The Buddha often used metaphors and parables to explain complex truths in ways that are easy to understand. These stories are timeless reminders of the fleeting nature of life and the wisdom of letting go. Consider the river. A river is a classic metaphor for impermanence. When you look at a river from a distance, it might seem like a fixed, unchanging body of water, a blue line on a map. But if you observe closely, if you stand on the bank, you will see that the water is always flowing. The river you see in one moment is not the same river you see in the next. The water molecules have rushed on, new ones have taken their place. This metaphor reminds us that life is constantly moving. Just as we can't step into the same river twice, we can't hold on to any moment, person, or experience forever. We are in the current. Consider the flame. The Buddha used the image of a flame to illustrate how all things depend on conditions to exist. A flame is not a solid object. It is a reaction. It relies on fuel, oxygen, and heat. If any of these factors change, if the wind blows, if the wax runs out, the flame will flicker or go out. Similarly, everything in our lives depends on certain conditions. Our jobs, our health, our moods. When those conditions change, so do the things we depend on. Understanding this helps us accept change with greater ease. We don't blame the flame for going out. We understand the conditions were lost. Consider autumn leaves. Autumn leaves are a beautiful, melancholic reminder of the cycle of life. In the fall, leaves change color, blazing in reds and golds, and then drift gently to the ground, returning to the earth to become soil for the next generation. This natural process symbolizes the impermanence of all things. By observing the changing seasons, we can see that life is not a straight line from a to be. It is a continuous cycle of beginnings and endings. Death feeds life. Life feeds death. This perspective can help us approach life's changes with a sense of wonder rather than resistance. When we embrace impermanence, we open the door to a more peaceful and fulfilling way of living. Far from being a source of fear, impermanence can be a source of freedom, gratitude, and compassion. It leads to inner peace. When we stop clinging to things that are bound to change, we free ourselves from a great deal of anxiety. We put down the heavy burden of trying to keep everything the same. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, we learn to flow with life's natural rhythms. This creates a deep sense of inner peace, even in the face of challenges. For example, if we lose a job or experience a breakup, understanding impermanence helps see that this moment of pain is not end of the story. It is just a chapter. By accepting that change is inevitable, we can face life's difficulties with greater resilience and grace. It leads to gratitude. Impermanence makes every moment precious. Scarcity creates value. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, we are more likely to appreciate what we have while we have it. Think about a sunset. Its beauty lies in its fleeting nature. If the sun stayed frozen at the horizon forever, we wouldn't even notice it. We might take it for granted. Similarly, Recognizing the temporary nature of life helps us savor the small joys and blessings that we often overlook. It leads to compassion. When we understand that all beings face the reality of change, we naturally develop greater empathy. We realize that everyone we meet, the rich, the poor, the angry, the happy, is fighting a battle against time. Everyone experiences loss. Everyone ages. Everyone faces difficulty. This shared experience of impermanence connects us. It can inspire us to treat others with kindness and patience. We may find ourselves more willing to forgive, knowing that grudges are heavy and time is short. We become more eager to help, more understanding of others' struggles. Understanding impermanence is not about becoming detached or indifferent. It is about seeing life as it truly is, in all its raw, changing glory, and finding freedom in that truth. When we embrace impermanence, we stop resisting the natural flow of life. We stop swimming upstream. We turn around and we float. We begin to live with greater ease, gratitude, and compassion. The Buddhist teachings on impermanence remind us that nothing in this world is fixed. But this isn't something to fear. It is an invitation. It is a call to wake up. It is an invitation to live fully, to love deeply, and to let go gracefully. By reflecting on impermanence and incorporating it into our daily lives, we can move closer to the ultimate goal of liberation and peace. The river is flowing. The flame is burning. The leaves are falling. And in that movement, there is life.